My name is Jake. I'm 23 years old, and this happened back in 2021 when I was getting my appendix taken out. It wasn't a big surgery, but I had to stay a few nights in the hospital. On the third night, they moved my roommate out, so I was alone in room 9. It was close to midnight, and I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing footsteps in the hall, which I imagined it was probably a nurse. It wasn't weird, but I kept hearing whispering. It sounded really close. Jake. I froze. I looked back toward the door, but no one was there. Then I noticed something move behind the curtain that separated the beds. I thought maybe a nurse came in quietly or someone was cleaning up. But when I called out, nobody answered. The curtain shifted again. It was fast, like someone had yanked it. Before I could hit the call button, a hand shot out from behind it and grabbed my wrist. I immediately screamed. The hand was ice cold and shaking. A man's face then appeared right from behind the curtain. He was pale like a ghost, and he was sweating. He had this weird, empty look in his eyes. He started mumbling nonsense. They said I could go home. They said I could leave. Then he lunged at me. I tried to pull away, but the ivy ripped out of my arm and blood went everywhere. He was so strong. He was pinning me down with one arm while trying to cover my mouth with the other. I kept kicking and hit the call button over and over, but nothing happened. The heart monitor went nuts, beeping like crazy, and that's what finally brought the nurses in. The guy got off me just before they came through the door and started pacing by the curtain, whispering something about the wrong room. When the nurses came in, he froze for a second, then bolted. Just ran right past them into the hallway. They caught him a few minutes later near the elevator. Turns out he was a psych patient from another floor who'd gotten out of his restraints. He had attacked 2 nurses earlier that week. They moved me to a different floor immediately after that. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I still think about how he said my name, though. Nobody could explain that part. Not even the nurses on the floor. I used to work night shifts cleaning a rehab hospital just outside Chicago. It wasn't a bad job. It was quiet, decent pay, but hospitals at night are different. Too quiet, and you start hearing things that aren't really there. Around 3:30 in the morning, I was in the West Wing, the oldest part of the building. There were flickering lights, dead cameras, and it had narrow halls. I was supposed to be completely alone down there. When I turned the corner near room 214, I saw someone standing at the end of the hall. He was wearing light blue scrubs, and that immediately threw me off because our staff wore navy, and the patients wore green. I had never seen anyone in that color. I called out, "Hey, you're not supposed to be down here." But he didn't move. He just stared at me. The closer I got, the worse it felt. His skin was this flat gray, not pale, not sick, just wrong. His eyes were sunken into his head, and his chest was moving too fast, like he was hyperventilating. Then I heard him, not out loud, but it was like he was in my head. "You shouldn't be here." My stomach immediately dropped. Then he took a step forward, and I saw his badge. It was black and melted. I started backing up, reaching for my radio, trying to tell security that there was someone in the West Wing. But I didn't get anything but static. And then he started to move more. It wasn't a walk, and it wasn't a run, but it was a sudden, jerky lunge that covered half the hallway in seconds. His body was bending so wrong, like he wasn't controlling it. I dropped my radio and sprinted. I made a break for the stairwell, slamming the door open, and something hit the frame beside me so hard it bent the metal. I locked the door behind me, and a second later I heard his voice come from the other side. "I needed you to stay." I didn't stop running until I reached the lobby. Security guards checked the cameras, and the hall was completely empty. But on the stairwell door, right where I said he was, the paint was scraped down to the metal, and stuck to it was a strip of gray-blue fabric, the same color as his scrubs. I quit that night. A month later, a coworker sent me a photo, a frame from a new security feed, the West Wing hallway. It was a figure in blue scrubs walking fast. Right before the camera cut to black, he pressed his melted badge against the lens. I'm 26 and I used to work night shifts as a nurse at a small hospital. I actually liked it for a while. It was quiet, no visitors, and just the hum of machines and the occasional call light. But there's one night I still can't think about without feeling sick to my stomach. It was around 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I was the only nurse on that side of the floor when we got a code blue. He was an older man, 70s. He had a heart attack. By the time they brought him up, he was gone. We took down the time, zipped him up, and moved him into room 6B, one of the overflow rooms we used when the morgue filled up. Everything was normal until I shut that door. The air inside the room felt wrong. Not just cold, but freezing, like a walk-in freezer. I actually checked the vent to see if the AC was busted. About an hour later, I was at the desk charting when I started hearing this dull thumping sound. It was slow and rhythmic. I figured it was a loose wheel on a gurney, so I went to check. The hallway, it was empty. The sound stopped, and then it started again. But it was louder, and it was coming from room 6B. I know I should have called security at that point, but my gut took over and told me to check the patient. I grabbed the keys and went down the hall. The curtain around the bed was drawn, and the room was still ice cold, but the heart monitor flickered on for a split second, showing a flat line, and then it blacked out. And then out of nowhere the curtain moved. Not gently or anything, but it jolted, like someone had hit it from the other side. I felt a knot form in my throat, and I heard the thumping come on again, but it was from inside the body bag, and it was hard and frantic. I started backing up, fumbling for my keys, and before I could even move, I heard the zipper start sliding down. It was sealed when I left him. The bag opened a few inches, and then I heard this sound, almost like someone was choking underwater. "Help me, please. It's cold." I immediately froze. The bag jerked hard, and a hand slowly came out. It was gray and had fingernails that were cracked and black. It gripped the side of the gurney and pulled. And then I saw the man's face. His eyes were bloodshot and his mouth was open, and it looked like he was trying to scream, but no sound came out. And then he sat up, trying to reach for me. Before he could grab me, I ran and slammed the door behind me and locked it. And right as it clicked, I heard a loud bang, like something hit it from the other side. When security got there, I was crying like crazy. I was almost shaking. We went back together and the body bag was sealed up again. But the guard noticed something different. The shoulder area was torn wide open, ripped clean through, and underneath the tear of the bag, there were long bloody scratches down the man's chest, like he'd been clawing his way out.